how to integrate SAP, why to integrate SAP, and on the other hand, also a use case from a customer that we have. We have done this together in Europe and in the US, and typically there should be somebody here from the customer, but they are right now in a phase of separation, so it's not so easy to get them on the show. So, first of all, what are we talking about today? I think we have two big players here in the environment. We have, on the one hand, we have SAP as the structured data. So you have all information in SAP, very important information for the companies. And on the other hand, you have Alfresco for the living content and for the collaboration. So these are really two pretty different worlds. So very often they see each other anywhere, but they are not connected often. And I think this is a very important thing, that we bring these two worlds really together so that they join each other and say, I get the strength of the one system together with the strength of the other system. So integration is, I think, a key figure we saw in all the other presentations that this morning. I think it was an interesting statement. So it's not important that one system can do everything, but they have the market leader or really the strong leaders in each environment. And bringing these together, I think that's a key point to make a successful business. So what are we talking about bringing these two environments together? SAP typically is built on so-called business objects. So when you have an HR record or when you have an invoice, this is typically an object in SAP where you have built in all the information that belongs to this object. So we are over here and we have this business solutions and the business objects on the SAP side. And typically we have an Alfresco content, so documents very often. And during the process, you need the access from within the structured information also to the content outside. Best case you will take to today very often is the invoice. So you do all the booking in SAP, but you want to have also the invoice, the image, so the information, maybe for purchase order, what are the emails that have been lead to this whole process in SAP. You want to have this connection to the outside world. So it's important that we connect the documents with the objects in SAP. So we built the whole thing based on Pernexas. So that's our product. And Pernexas is certified on the one hand against SAP. It's, you see, the integration through SAP NetWeaver. Not sure how familiar you are with SAP, but SAP has a platform, and this is the NetWeaver platform. And there we are integrated in with the so-called SAP Content Server 6.20, and this is the ArchiveLink interface. Maybe somebody knows this expression, at least. So, and in addition, brand new, as you might have also seen with John Newton, we are certified also on the Alfresco side. And so you have, as an important thing, bringing these two systems together, you have the robustness. You can say, yes, both sides are certified with this interface. Now, I do it a little bit more in detail. As you have seen our two worlds, we have in the middle, it's not a good quality, but it just gave you some technical details. First of all, the Pernexas is installed on the Alfresco side. So we are module, that's an AMP file that we deploy. So we are really 100% focused to Alfresco. So we cannot install anywhere else. We are on Alfresco, and that's why we are really certified against Alfresco also. So that's technically the installation that we do on the Alfresco side. On the SAP side, there again are two different options that we are using. The famous one I mentioned already is the HTTP content server, so the ArchiveLink protocol. This interface is built to bring really the documents together with the objects in SAP. Let me say it's a very it's an ArchiveLink solution, so a not changeable solution, meaning really a fixed link between these two on the one side document and the object on the other side. Now, as SAP built the whole interface like that, that you can move it to an external content server, it is built like a dump archive behind SAP. So we throw over here through the HTTP content server the document to the archive, and on the archive side you typically have simply the archive ID. It's a strange number, nobody can use it. So it's hard for us because Alfresco is a strong system. We want to use the content. We want to spread it. We want to start a workflow, whatever. So many things. So it's important for us to get more information. And this is why we also connect to the SAP Java connector. The SAP Java connector is something where, I'm not sure who knows ABAP. ABAP is the language of SAP. And the Java connector is the translator from Java to ABAP. Meaning when you can talk to the Java connector, you can talk to literally any function module inside SAP. And you will see later on that's an important fact. So going further, we have seen already certified for SAP and for Alfresco. Now a few information about SAP. So it does not look sexy. SAP is really here a nice, or more or less nice, database that you enter all the information. And it is extreme complex. I just want to give you here the feeling how it can look like. So this is the view of the customizing options in SAP. And one of this is the SAP NetWeaver, this basic product. When you click on that, then you see again, you have many options. We have the application server, for example, basis services, ArchiveLink. So you see our integration. It's a tiny piece in the big SAP environment. And there we do our settings to connect. But I just want to show you also how complex SAP is. So complex is not the user-friendly system that you easily bring content to the outside world. That's why it's, again, very important, I think, to connect to Alfresco. Now, seeing a little bit more the end user's perspective. Here, it's becoming a little bit better because SAP looks more or less always the same. You have here now a business object. It's an invoice with the header data, and here you have the line item information, and then you have the attachment list. And therefore, I want to have a short video to show you that we shows this in the real life, how this looks like then for the end user, how to handle this. Because the end user, and as I mentioned before, it is on the customer side, so that's not. I have to change here to the screen so you see the video also. Over here, come on. Okay, so it just start again here. You see up here that we have here this small button. It's a so-called service for object. And I just want to mention that it's important because this button is available in all SAP transactions. So if you ask me, can you support HR, FI, MM, SD? Yes, we can, because this is integrated by SAP, and the end user has then always these services for object, and then click here on the screen and say, please show me the attachment list, and do all the things that are available for this object. And then you simply see here ongoing that we have the option to store a business document, for example. So we have already 3 attached, and you select the document type in SAP. Because SAP has to know what you want to do. Is this an invoice? Where do you want to store this? And so retention periods are behind this information. You simply select this from your front end, and then the document is now in the background via Pernexas moved to Alfresco. You just have additional options to type in description, file name. It's a very simple document management. So it's not complex. We don't have versioning and something like that. It's just only connect this document to this SAP object. Now the document has been stored, and obviously we can display this document again in SAP. So once again, the end user has always this SAP feeling. I'm in SAP, I have my transaction, I know services for object, I can store documents, I can display documents, and you see this is also done in the screen of SAP. And even SAP has some additional options. For example, we can add nodes. So some basic type of this known functionality from document management, but it's really simple, as we have learned. And smart, we will see later on, we will also become smart. So I think that's enough. You see that we can have also functionality available like the nodes in here. Going to the next one. Giving you this short overview, we have, in addition to this ArchiveLink, we have SAP DMS. Means SAP has its own document management also, where you can really change documents, where you can have versions. And I just mentioned this here. We also support this, because at the bottom here, you see that we check in then the document to Alfresco. And the connection to Alfresco is again used the HTTP protocol to communicate and connect to this sub-document info record. Again, it's an object in SAP, this info record, and you always connect to an object, as we have seen before. So the integration interfaces, just a short summary. We have the content server and so-called ArchiveLink. We have the Java connector, and we also can use web services. Because Peter came in, we did together a project, and there we also exchange data based on web services, because it's an option that SAP also offers. So, but in the core product, we are using mostly these two options. So I tried to give you the feeling already before. When we're talking about documents then in Alfresco, it is important that we not only get some information like this strange archive ID, but that we get something in addition. And here you see we have the object type, the number, so the invoice number in SAP, having this available. From our point of view, that's so important, because then you can work with the document. Either you create a rule to move the document to a special folder structure, start a workflow. Of course, you can search for the document. So we are in the strong Alfresco environment. Then I think I don't have to tell you what you can do with this additional information. Important, we support this information. And whenever you ask me, can we have another detail? Yes, because we call via Java connector SAP and get literally any information you ask me to. Why? Because this is already everything in standard. You install the Pernexas 1 hour, then you get this information. And you have the object ID. And you can imagine going back to SAP, having this object ID. It's not a big thing. You just call it, give me the invoice amount number, give me the tax number, whatever. So we are certainly in there. Just shortly, we have an administration console in Pernexas, so on the Alfresco side, where we can do everything. And the same we do have on the SAP side. Again, completely standard, integrated, and straightforward. Coming to now the real world. So this is an example of a customer where we did such a project, where we did a deep integration. And this is the customer Saint-Gobain with a special subsidiary, Verallia. They are producing bottles, and I just give you a short overview. So it's a pretty big enterprise. They are worldwide. That's why we have here in the US the integration we have in Europe. You see that we have here 46 countries with many customers. So don't want to bother you too long. By the way, they do also these Coke bottles. So they are really do glass bottles. It's a worldwide player. Now coming to the technical details that might be interesting. You see it's a quite old Alfresco system, 3.4, very robust. It's working very well. We have one SAP ECC 6. It's more or less standard currently in the SAP environment. And you see that we have installed already in 2009. So this is a very old implementation, and they have a lot of experience out of the real life. And this is what I want to tell you a little bit about here. So what are the use cases? And I think this is a good example what you might find out with customers. And very often you see that I have talked about these FI documents, so invoices. Very, very often, I would say 90% of all scenarios, they start with an invoice processing. That's so smooth in SAP, nice with Alfresco. Think about having Alfresco as the capturing system, Effisoft, and get all the information, email, scanned invoices, electronic invoices, everything into Alfresco. Do maybe the approval process in Alfresco, where many people are involved. CPU-based, perfect. It's from a pricing perspective, perfect. Do this in Alfresco, and then start the process, the workflow, whatever, in SAP, where only 10 people from the FI department are involved maybe. But not all people that might approve an invoice, because this can be theoretically everybody in the company. So a very nice scenario already about the big advantages we could bring to the customer based on a scenario, on the technology, on the licensing, so many reasons for that.
So once, sorry.
Yeah.
So once the line of business users have approved the invoice in Alfresco, then it's moved to SAP.
Exactly. So this is a very typical scenario. There might be an alternative that is sometimes also used, that the first step is in SAP to park the invoice, meaning capturing the first information. Then we get out again with this information. For example, then we could enrich also with the purchase order information, the document, and then send to the workflow in Alfresco. But very often, let's say 80 to 90% is clearly we start the whole process in Alfresco, do the approval, and if we have the approval, then we go into SAP, because very often the company divide between an invoice processing based on purchase order or not purchase order. If you don't have a purchase order, then you have to do the approval up front. If you have a purchase order, you might also do this in SAP, because it matches then simply. So then the workflow interface, we are using sales documents, delivery notes. You see, plant maintenance documents, also very interesting. So these are all scenarios we implemented, and we have two big ones I wanted to show today. It's the purchasing and technical documents. So let's jump in there. First of all, the purchasing documents. So the purchasing documents are, in this case, you can divide between requisitions and purchase orders. And we have to keep in Germany for 7 years those documents. So it's also a question about archiving, handling these documents. And they really stored this in paper, in folders, and had big storage places. And it was simply printed paper. And there was no link between the paper document and the object in SAP. So you always have to run, so you see in SAP, this was the purchase order, go there and look for all the information that belongs. So it was a complex thing. And the need was clearly to optimize the process so that you easily can get the documents back, that you have access. It's also for legal reasons typically that the auditors have access to this information. And it was very often also that simply the information was not kept because it was too hard. So an email was thrown away because, but the email could be very important for this purchasing process. Was there an offer? Was there an agreement? Maybe only a word in the email. And this was then all incorporated to this project that we have done. So we said, now we store all documents that are important for the purchasing process to Alfresco. Central place, everybody has access to that. And we keep it for minimum for the 7 years. So we have the retention periods and we have the policies for that. Then secondly, it should of course also be connected to the SAP object. So it's easy in SAP to see all related documents immediately for the own people, but also for the auditors. And yeah, the link I described already. And what was also very important, to capture all different types of incoming information, like, yeah.
Just a question is, since all these documents are going into Alfresco, I assume that would include some imaging And how do you do the imaging into Alfresco in your solution?
So in this solution, it was Cofax. Even I would love to say it was Effisoft, but at that time, 2009, honestly, we did not even know about Effisoft. Right now, I would do this with Effisoft, but they didn't. Okay, you see. So, but at that time, it was Cofax.
Effisoft didn't exist in 2009.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and it was also a very smooth integration, no doubt about that. So there was a release script for Alfresco available, so that was everything fine for us. And it's working still out very nicely. It's not a complex thing. We don't do too much OCR or ECR. We really scan and index the information there, yeah. So, or from scanner, or even from Outlook, very important because in the meantime, you know, many information is really coming in Outlook that is connected to such a process. So, from Alfresco, the customer metadata and the document types have to match so that we really can connect it to the purchasing object. That's important. So we can do this all automatically. We have seen before we can link documents from SAP to Alfresco, but of course we can do this the other way around also. So having information in Alfresco with the right link information, we do this automatically to the object in SAP. So here are some examples. We can have, you see here again what we saw before, that we have all this SAP-related information, a company code, fiscal year. So this is important that you have this on the Alfresco side. You can search for this, and you also can create the link based on this information. So I go here a little bit faster because I think we had this in my introduction already. You see here again, this is now a purchase order. We have again the services for object, and we have here our attachment list. Again, important, in each transaction you find it over here. Standard, we are integrated absolutely deeply in SAP. Then we have here some document types that you can choose when you want to link from Alfresco to SAP. Can be different for each customer. What are you looking for? And I think 6,500 SAP objects are available. We can't implement them all, but not in standard. But of course, for each project, we do it, but not all up front. And this is the scenario how it looks like. So your question would be an answer here. We scan in, we enter additional information stored to Alfresco, and then link it to the SAP system. So that was the whole overview of the process. We also have here a small add-in at that time in Outlook. So you just can say archive, you type in some relevant SAP information, the document has been archived to Alfresco and linked automatically to SAP, which can be done also, of course, by nice solutions that have drag and drop like Fred to the Alfresco environment, and you have also the Outlook information available. Now we have a streamlined process, and it is really working now for 4 years. So it's not a high figure, 100,000 documents are not that high, but it's used very often. I think there's a big difference between documents that you store once and never have a look at it. This is really used very often, and hence or seems to be very robust. Yeah, the solution delivery was not a big thing because it's ArchiveLink standard. It's standard of our product. We install it and it's ready to go. So, no paper. And that's good to hear. So Alexandra, she was really, we asked for negative points. It's, of course, we do some marketing, but in this case, we asked her and she said, no, it's okay. She has enough experience. Sometimes we have a downtime with the server, but this was not connected to this solution. So, next case study. These were our purchasing document. Now let's have a look for some technical documents. A little bit different approach that we here have. So I told you Verallia is producing glass bottles. And very important is the technical drawing. Because this drawing, of course, for the manufacturing process is interesting for sales, for marketing. So nearly all involved departments do have an interest to see these bottle drawings, to have this information available. And the drawings, how they used it right now was not in a good way, because they had different silos Everybody had their own sources of these bottle drawings. It was not always the same, even they talk about the same. So it was very important to make this available to everybody. And that's why, again, SAP is a very central system at Verallia. And they, for example, give the number for these bottles. Having a number, then you can do the rest. You can start the production. You have the materials management. You can do controlling, the finance. So really everything is bound in SAP. So it was very important to connect this also to SAP, which was not the case before. And they have built a pretty complex system. You see, SAP was always already connected to their channels where they spread the information. But up to now, the document came via many file shares, and anyhow it was moved and copied, so nobody knew exactly what was happening. And it was linked also to the system, but no connection to SAP. So this was really missing. Now, the new solution would be very important to connect these things and make it much more easier. So it was clearly, we only want to store, I go fast here, we want to store this document only once to Alfresco and link the documents to the appropriate channels where we push the information, and of course link it to SAP. So this is the new version, how it looked like. And therefore, do you remember I told you about ArchiveLink and I told you about the document management, DMS in SAP? There we use the document info record to make this process then happen, that we link it on one hand, the document between Alfresco and SAP, and then enable SAP also to spread the information to the different channels. So we have again a very good process afterwards. We have definitely reduced maintenance. Think about this process as you have seen it before, was very complex, and now it's only Alfresco, the single source. We can move it to all different types of channels, and we have the connection to SAP. So the summary of this scenario was really, we had this happy designer because he created the drawing, and up to the saleswoman who was at the end the user of this information. So lessons learned, maybe for you interesting, we have to scale the Alfresco system. For them it was really an issue because it was the old, you have seen 3.4, and we had issues. So with 4 point something, we will get for sure rid of these issues. We start, by the way, the upgrade project now in December, do the upgrade, and also then is an upgrade needed from the old Pernexas to the new one, because it's a question between of solar and Lucene. It was hard for us to implement, so we have a new version for the solar environment. So what's also important I see here, it might be with all the companies. I told you it's interesting to bring these two systems together, yeah. But you also have to bring the teams together. And they could be very far away also inside a company, because SAP is an own type of team, the content management own time, and they have to work also together because you can have a nice interface, but if this does not work, you will get problems. This customer, we had some issues at the beginning, now it's perfectly working, everybody knows what the other one is doing, and it's really working together very smoothly. Now I come back, go out of the business case to the real figures, just a few words about our product. So we have a pretty easy licensing. It's 15,000 euro per Alfresco CPU one time. It's the old pricing model. We will most probably change this at the year change, that we have the old-fashioned pricing model with one-time license plus maintenance, but also have the subscription starting from next year on. And you see here, it's for, as I mentioned, for each Alfresco CPU for a whole SAP landscape. For those, for you not so familiar, typically SAP has a development, test, and production environment. And we support all of these with one single license. And as many Alfresco systems you have, we do also, we don't have a special test license for that. So everything included in this one license. And for each additional Alfresco CPU, so if you have more cores, then it's 7,500 and So how many Alfresco CPUs you're using. So pretty easy model, and the maintenance is 20% of the software price yearly. And as I mentioned, next year maybe we sure will have another pricing model.
How many CPUs does Verallia have?
They do have one.
Wow.
One only, yeah. Well, you can, so it's still working for them, was not a problem. But they already, because funnily, we have the same presentation in Barcelona, and I told you Verallia is belonging to the big Saint-Gobain, and Saint-Gobain found out that they had Alfresco also anywhere else, and didn't know that the colleagues are already connected to SAP, and we will also do in this other subsidiary now a project, and most probably we will have then the second CPU. Now, just going back here, we deliver all the services, but as you will see later on, are operating worldwide. We are very happy to work together with partners. We do deliver, we have the knowledge, we are so focused on this SAP thing. We say we are really focused on Alfresco. As you have seen, we are a module in Alfresco. We are certified for SAP. So we work in this environment, and we want to enable customers and partners to do so. And as we have here really customers now from Australia, Saudi Arabia, Europe to the US, we can't do this as the small German company. And that's why we love to work together with partners. We have never been here. It's just we enabled the partner. We have never been here in the US. But this is just straightforward. We are happy to do this with you as customer or as partner. And of course, because I saw this nice picture, I said, that's perfect for us, because how can I better explain this simple, smart, and on-premise and in the cloud? SAP, let's be straightforward. Even we have an outlook for 20 years. I'm not sure for 20 years. But the next 5 years, I would even say the next 10 years, SAP will be to 95% on-premise. They don't give away this information. I'm really very sure. And so how can we have a better use case like we have it typically? Sometimes you have information from SAP that should be published, and it was a hard thing going to the portal, making the portal secure because they can access through the portal. Wouldn't it be much nicer, an outgoing invoice, for example, store with Pernexas to Alfresco on-premise, and then publish simply to the cloud through the firewall? Perfect. It's an easy scenario, and I think this is really the perfect example how we can connect these two worlds, having on the one hand SAP that will be very restricted on-premise, and also some information that should be published to the outside world, like an outgoing invoice here in the cloud. And something about simple and smart, I think that's also important. On the one hand, we are definitely simple. So we can when you get the product, you can install it yourself, or you get some help from our side. But this is typically done really, we talk about hours to 1 day. So it's simple to install. We are ArchiveLink, so SAP standard. So we keep it really simple and not complex. On the other hand, I don't want to say that we are smart. So this integration is not brand new, it's not rocket science. But on top or together with our information that we forward to Alfresco, we can build very smart applications or complete scenarios. Again, I think that's interesting for the partners and for the customers. As you know, when you have sub-information available, like coming back to the invoice processing, because sometimes you need some information to forward or start a workflow in Alfresco. So it would be great to have the information over there if I have it in Alfresco. Then I'm open with my easy tools to go with workflow, to go move it to different channels. So this is, I think, the combination might as be a thing that we can become very smart. So I hope that I could get now the picture together and more or less come to my final conclusions I want to give you. So we see it, put your content to work, as we have seen this as the big label, but do it together, meaning SAP and Alfresco. And the most important message I want to give to you, if you see anywhere SAP outside, in the Alfresco environment, please, when somebody asks you, can we do it? Yes, we can. And we are certified. Yeah, because we see it, of course, especially in Germany or in Europe, it's so often. So you have a tender or you have to have an offer, and they ask, can you do SAP? And you just make question mark, perfect, you can do it, check. Yeah, not question mark. So we can do it. That's the story I want to really deliver to you. And you have seen we have the booth outside, so if you want to have any additional information, feel free to contact us. We can have a short online demo. And thank you. That's it. And now I think I'm pretty much in time. I would be open for any questions. Maybe the only thing I want to mention here, so you see that we have here the Pernexas. That's the web page that we are offering. And there you find all related information. When you go to the Alfresco side, we have an own landing page on Alfresco for SAP integration. We have the partner, how it's called? The partner, not case study, but showcase, thank you. We have the showcase. And of course, you also get the information about Verallia and Sagoba. Yeah, I think I'm perfectly in time. I got this the sign right now. And if you have any questions.
Why don't you talk a little bit about about your market? What are please talk about the marketplace, the customers that you feel are attracted to you, and the other dynamics of growth and future plans to extend your reach into a wider marketplace.
So I think I tried to separate in two answers. The one thing is that we have the regions. We are currently, of course, stronger in Europe because we are coming from this area. But we are clearly focused worldwide, meaning not focused, but we are open for the worldwide delivery. And having such a niche product as we have, we have to do this simply worldwide, and we are the only one that are certified against SAP and Alfresco. So I think we have to spread it, otherwise we would die too small. And the other part of the question, so where do we see our chances? Of course, the easy fruits would be the customers that have Alfresco and that have SAP. So more or less they have to do it, the integration. But we see more and more coming up that we also can fight, or we have to fight, against existing solutions. So if you have a look at those companies that run SAP, especially the big one, they have any solution in place anywhere. And a real greenfield is very seldom. We have 3 of our customers that we did last year. We migrated either from FileNet very often, and we also are currently in a process where we migrate from OpenText. So FileNet, on the one hand, I think is an old player in the market, but with coming to IBM, it was a complex upgrade. So they said, we can anyhow go for a new solution. Let's go for Alfresco, because this is simply the future. And we then migrate all content that is related to SAP to Alfresco. And on the other hand, of course, OpenText is a strong player in the market because it's on the price list of SAP, and very often is simply sold if they need it or not. So we see more really that we can help on-site with the customers that have already a solution, but we simply can offer more. So that's the story. And some greenfields are still available, so never say never, but it's not too many of them.
Well, your product's very inexpensive to people who are buying SAP. Because
absolutely.
There's a gigantic amount of money on that. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's why we have to rethink our pricing model for next year. So there will be also maybe a slight rise in the price. So thank you. I think we're done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.